Gaming in the 90s, in particular discovering new games, was very different to how it is today. The internet was in its infancy, meaning there were no live streams of games to watch, no YouTube to watch reviews, and your first glimpse at a new title would usually come from hanging out at a friend's house playing a game you'd never seen before, reading a video game magazine such as Computer and Video Games Magazine or Mean Machines, or watching a video game related TV show such as Games Master or Cyberzone. But there was another way games publishers would spread the word about new and upcoming titles, and that was via a promotional VHS tape. And in this video, we're going to take a look back at one of my favorites of these, the Super Mario All-Stars promotional video, released by Nintendo UK in 1993. Presented by Craig Charles, the 20-minute, low-budget, high-energy video showcased not only the 4 titles on the Super Mario All-Stars cart, but also a whole host of other incredible Super Nintendo titles. We get to meet some of the folks at the Nintendo hotline, see some behind the scenes on how games are developed for the system, and learn some tips and tricks on how to beat your favorite games. This videotape holds a special place in my heart, as I had a copy of this when I was young, and the Super Nintendo was the first console system I ever had. In fact, it was the Super Mario All-Stars box set that my family got for Christmas in 1993. So I hope you'll join me on a quick look back at this charming relic of 90s gaming history. Before we get started, if you're enjoying the content here on the channel, it would mean the world if you could hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The video starts with this shot of the Nintendo logo in outer space, followed by us zooming in on the flying Nintendo spaceship piloted by Craig Charles.
Right then, thrill seekers, here we go. We've got some amazing insider information for you game wizards. Not off.
Craig gives us a rundown of what's to come, including reviews of the latest games, a visit to the Nintendo hotline, tips and tricks for your favorite games, and a behind-the-scenes look at how Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing for the Super Nintendo was made.
But first, let's get the show on the road with the Mario story. Buongiorno, prego, diceno.
We are told the story of how the Mario franchise started all the way back in the early 80s when Mario had his debut in the arcade game Donkey Kong. It was such a success that Shigeru Miyamoto decided to make Mario the hero of a new game, and the rest really is history, bringing us up to the present day, at least in the video, of the release of Super Mario All-Stars in Europe on December 16th, 1993. I still have my original Super Nintendo at home and my original copy of All-Stars, and boy, my playtime on that game must be in the thousands of hours by now.
Bravo-ski, Mario-ski. He's a bit like me, you know. Obscurity 1 minute, in your living rooms the next. My name's Craig Charles, brought to you live by Nintendo.
We then get a look at some of the best games the Super Nintendo has to offer, starting with A Link to the Past, undoubtedly one of the greatest games of all time. I never actually owned this game for my Super Nintendo, and instead remember playing it at friends' houses when I was young, so I'd really like to do another playthrough of the game soon. It's been so many years since I played it that it might almost feel like playing it again for the first time. Each of the games reviewed on this video are given percentage scores out of 100, and A Link to the Past does incredibly well. Next is Super Mario Kart, another Super Nintendo game I still have my original cartridge of. So many excellent memories of playing this both alone as well as with friends and family, and the music in this game is nothing short of a masterpiece. Then we get a look at Starwing, the first game to feature the Super FX chip, enabling it to use polygonal graphics. It is considered one of the greatest games of all time and definitely holds a special place in my heart. Don't forget to check out the game's sequel, Star Fox 2, which was completed in 1995 but wasn't released until 2017 on the Super NES Classic Edition. Lastly, we see gameplay from the beat-em-up platform game Battletoads in Battle Maniacs, a game I can't believe I haven't played before but definitely want to check out. Next on the video, Craig beams down to meet the hotliners. The UK's first official Nintendo hotline went live in January of 1991 and was essentially a helpline dedicated to providing gamers with tips, tricks and hints on how to beat their games.
You're known as a hotliner. What does that mean?
Hotliner is someone who has played and completed all NES, Game Boy and Super Nintendo games, as well as helping the consumer with information on games already out and forthcoming releases.
So what's this game you're playing now?
At the moment I'm playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
He's playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo and getting paid for it. It's like he's died and gone to heaven.
I'm sure this job was quite challenging, but come on, being paid to play Nintendo games and help gamers with their questions, it must have been a lot of fun. Craig asks one of the hotliners what it would take for him to be able to become a hotliner too, and I just have to say, choosing Craig Charles to host this promotional video was such an excellent choice.
Okay, I haven't got the big time edge. I haven't got the total coordination and communication skills you need to make it as a hotliner. I can live with that. Time to review some games.
Back to the reviews with Aladdin, one of the Super Nintendo's finest games. I distinctly remember this level where you're riding a carpet while being chased down by the lava. I always hated that level as it took me forever to get past it. Next is Mario Paint, a game I've never really been a big fan of. I never had it when I was younger, but I'm sure it was fun at the time.
The only limitation with this game is your imagination.
After this, we take a look at Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing, but we'll come back to this again in a moment when we go behind the scenes on the game's development. We get a look at Plock next, a great platform game that was released in Europe at the end of 1993. And although it received great reviews, it was also criticized for simply being too similar to other platform games of the time. Another platform game, The Lost Vikings, gets a mention, which was described by Zach Meston of Video Games and Computer Entertainment magazine as being funny, fresh, and challenging enough to keep you playing for hours on end. And finally, Bubsy in Claw's Encounters of the Third Kind, a great game that just didn't quite live up to the expectations and the hype around the time it was released.
These games are pretty fantastic, but what always amazes me, and I'll share this with you, is how they fit all the music, visuals, excitement, and all-round top-quality entertainment into one tiny cartridge.
We then meet some of the developers at Gremlin Graphics, the team behind the new game Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing, to see how Super Nintendo games are created. Quite a fascinating section of the video this, incredible to learn about the amount of work, time and effort that went into creating all of these incredible games, including this absolute banger of a song.
Could we have a listen to some of the music, please, Pat? Certainly.
Once I've composed the music, it's built up of tracks similar to this.
You know what? I think it would be incredibly fun to try and program a brand new Super Nintendo game in the modern era. I only have very basic programming skills, but that could be quite an interesting video series to put together sometime in the future. Perhaps we could get a team of us together to design and build a brand new game from scratch. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little, but it would certainly be a lot of fun. We then enter the tips and tricks section of the video, starting with this classic trick in the Lost Levels, where you can get a crazy amount of lives on the very first level.
Now carefully make a small jump onto the Koopa. Mario should bounce on and off, eventually clocking up 1-ups. Leave it to carry on until the time runs out and you'll have 128 lives.
We get another tip for the Lost Levels for level 3-4 on how to get to the end of the level the fastest way possible, followed by the secret on Super Mario Bros. 2 where you can use the potion bottle at the end of 1-3 to warp straight to World 4. Super Mario Bros. 3 next, and the trick on level 1-3 where you can access a secret mushroom house to obtain a warp whistle. Lastly, we learn of a tip for Plock on level 3 where you can enter a bonus stage that will warp you to the end of the island if you beat the game. The last thing on this promotional video is a look at two accessories for the Super Nintendo, the Score Master arcade stick and the Super Scope, known as the Nintendo Scope in Europe. As a big fan of Street Fighter when I was young, and still to this day, I would have absolutely loved getting my hands on the Scoremaster arcade stick. I remember having some kind of arcade stick for the Super Nintendo when I was younger, most likely picked up from some kind of car boot sale or a second-hand shop, but this official Nintendo arcade stick looked awesome. And with that, we come back to Craig on his Nintendo spaceship for the end of the video.
I hate to tell you, thrill seekers, but it's time for me to go. Have fun on your Super Nintendo. And this might sound strange, but I'll be back. Hasta la vista, baby.
Watching this promotional tape again after all these years genuinely takes me back. The Super Nintendo is still one of my favorite systems, and what I love about it is that there are so many games for the system that still hold up to this day and are still fun to go back and play again and again. Before the internet gave us instant access to gameplay footage, developer interviews, walkthroughs, etc., all we had were magazines, TV shows, and videotapes like this one to fuel our imaginations, and somehow that made it all feel a little bit more magical. This particular VHS tape is burned into my memory. I must have watched it hundreds of times as a kid, rewinding certain parts to rewatch my favorite game clips, keeping those games in mind the next time I went to the game store. The video felt like an invitation into the world of Nintendo, like the people on screen were just as excited about games as I was, and even now, decades later, that feeling hasn't faded. I think for many of us who grew up in the 90s, this tape represents a simpler time. A time when new games came wrapped in mystery, when you played the same cartridges for months on end, and when sitting cross-legged in front of the TV with a wired controller in hand felt like the best place in the world to be. Nostalgia like this is powerful because it reminds us of who we were and what we loved. And this little VHS tape, it reminds me exactly why I fell in love with gaming in the first place. Thanks for watching, everyone. What a treat it was to watch this promotional video again after all these years. Had you seen it before, or was this your first time to have come across this? I highly recommend watching the entire video when you have time. There are multiple uploads here on YouTube. And let me know your favorite titles from the Super Nintendo catalog in the comments below. If you're enjoying the content here on the channel, it would mean the world if you could give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video.